Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the podcast, Living Better Podcast. You're with your host, Matt, and today I have an exciting interview. I'm going to Ottawa, Canada, to talk with Jennifer Lawrence. She's a hypnotherapist, so we're going to try to debunk hypnosis and get some more insights on how it can help you in your life or help someone you know to fix all sort of issues they might have. So a lot of people don't know exactly what hypnosis is. We're familiar with the street shows or probably shows that we saw when people do like the chicken or they do some funny stuff. But yeah, it's a very interesting interview and I'm really excited about it. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy it just as much. So before we go over there to Ottawa and meet up with Jennifer, I just want to give a shout out to our official sponsor, the Sleep Monkey Premium Sleep Mask. If you are looking to improve your sleep drastically, you definitely need to get your hands on one of these. It's the most amazing sleep mask I ever got. Me and my wife use it every night, and it's definitely a game changer. So I would recommend you get one of these, of those masks. And like, you'll buy it once, it's going to be good forever, and trust me, it's going to follow you everywhere you go. You won't be able to sleep without it. It's that amazing. Also, today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listener a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. So if you go to audible.com/living for the Living Better podcast and you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you get a free audiobook. An audiobook, if you don't know what it is, it's a book that's being narrated to you. So instead of reading, you just put it on and you can listen to it in your car, at the gym, while you commute, in the bus, whatever. So you get the same kind of knowledge and quality material without having to read. So it's great. It saves you a lot of time. So go to audible.com/living, sign up for their free trial membership, and you get an audiobook. And if you like the membership, keep it. If you don't, you can cancel at any time before the 30-day period. And it doesn't cost you anything other than you're getting a free audiobook. So that's definitely something awesome. So without any further ado, let's jump in my car and go meet up with Jennifer in Ottawa for an awesome interview about hypnosis. All right, guys, let's do it. Well, I wanted to add up, guys, before we get to the interview, we had some issues with the audio. So if you can just disregard the fact that it's not top-notch audio, the interview is as valuable. So please just bear with me. We had some technical issues, but listen through the whole thing and it's just as valuable as if we had good audio. Just the quality is not on par with the quality that you could expect from my podcast. So please just bear with me and enjoy. All right.
All right. So welcome to the Living Better podcast.
Thank you.
Today we're with Jennifer, hypnotherapist. We're in Ottawa, Canada.
Yes.
And today we're going to talk about debunking the myths and the misconceptions about hypnotherapy, hypnosis, and how it works. So thanks for having me. Seriously, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm as excited as maybe our listeners or yourself.
I don't know. I run on a pretty high excitement level, so it'd be amazing if you guys surpassed me.
Yeah. We'll see.
Challenge!
We'll see how it goes, yeah.
Okay.
So, before we start, I'd like you to talk a bit more about yourself. What led you to this journey of becoming a hypnotherapist?
Okay.
And how did you take interest in that and your background a bit? So, go ahead.
Okay. So how I got interested in this is I have always wanted to be a part of something that is empowering other people. I think of a 9-to-5 job just pushing papers or doing stuff for other people, and I want to put a gun to my head.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not for me. So I have children.
Okay.
And some of my listeners don't even realize that. Secret given away. And when I had my second child, I had a 25-minute labor.
Okay.
And a home birth, and she just lit out.
Okay.
In the sac of fluids, which for spiritual people out there means that she'll have second sight, and it's kind of this magical gift.
Okay.
So I had this experience, and I went, holy, can we swear?
Yeah, you can swear. It doesn't matter.
Holy shit. this is not what I see on TV. This is not the way birth is portrayed in mainstream media and images. So I became kind of this really passionate person about birth and about fear and how fear limits us. And I became what's called a doula. So doula is a labor support person. They don't actually deliver the baby. Those are midwives or OBs or family doctors.
Okay.
But I'm there emotionally and physically present for the woman to guide her and help her and just really, really ground her in the whole process. And even to make it fun, right? Like birth doesn't have to be this very serious, like,
yeah, that's what people make it so serious.
Right? Yeah, it is. And it can be fun. There was one birth that I went to, side point, where we were walking through the park and then we came home and we started drumming, and it was very hippie-like but amazing. It was super fun.
Yeah.
So from there I was a doula for a bit, and then we moved to Ottawa, and I have a background in fitness as well, group fitness. And then from there, my life kind of crumbled in the best possible way. My marriage deteriorated. I left my husband, discovering myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that it had to be a bigger picture thing where I'm helping other people. So I went to school for entrepreneurship and management. And in that time, I met someone who was a hypnotist.
Okay.
And they...
Who was taking the same course?
No. Yeah.
Something else.
That was a side project.
Okay.
And so this person kind of exposed me to hypnosis. And so if you see on my legs today, these are tights. I was not able to wear tights. I was not able to wear jeans. I had a hard time getting dressed in the winter. Like, I couldn't leave my house because textures on my legs wigged the fuck out of me. For real.
Since you were young, or it was kind of something you never liked?
Yeah, since I was young, I always wanted soft, very pliable textures, and so jeans are not soft and pliable.
Okay, so you never wore jeans.
And tights were too tight, too restricting. I couldn't do it.
Okay.
So this person helped me get over that. And I was like, holy crap, if this can help with something that I've had as an issue, a weird issue.
Yeah.
Since I was a kid.
There's worse than that, so that's not too bad.
Thank you, that's very kind of you, that's very kind. If it can help with this, what else can it help with, right? And then as we kind of started doing hypnosis together and I kind of explored it a little bit more, I realized the techniques in hypnosis are very similar, here's the full circle for you, to the techniques that I would do as a doula.
Okay, so it would connect directly for you. You're like, oh, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I already have these skills. I already have this innate ability to ground people and to take this people to this really empowered state.
Okay.
So I kind of thought, I'm looking for something, and this is something that's fitting all my bill.
Yeah.
And so I started doing training, and which paired well with entrepreneurship and management, because as I was going to school, I got my practice up and running. And since then, I've just been taking off of it and just doing really, really cool things. And my hypnosis practice, Grounded Hypnosis, it checks all of my boxes. I do street hypnosis, which is really fun, but an amazing educational tool. And I do therapy, I do viewer hypnosis, I do hypnosis online, so I work with people all over the world.
Like Skype interviews and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Skype hypnosis.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, how's that work over Skype?
You don't need to be there?
No.
Okay.
We don't have to be one-on-one. Is one-on-one great? Yes, it is. If we have that energy together in the room. However, most people know that you can feel energy by watching something, right? Like if you watch a show and you're like, oh, that person's really cool. You get hyped, right? Yeah. It's just like that on Skype. And so people can feel my energy. People can feel my sincerity, hopefully, and they can feel what they need to feel in order to have really profound change. And ultimately, hypnosis is words. So if you can hear the words, then you're good.
Okay. So that's what led you to being a hypnotherapist.
Yes. Yeah. That's how I came. I always have to be doing something that is empowering people. And this is the best way, the best job in the whole world for me.
Great. So my questions, I'm sure people are interested about this. So
absolutely.
As I was telling you, people they're first exposed to hypnosis through those shows in Vegas and stuff like that, where people go on stage and act stupid, and so they don't really understand how it works, right, on a deeper level. So not many people are aware that you can use hypnotherapy or hypnosis to fix certain issues that you have.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to talk a bit more about, in your personal experience, who or what have you fixed, and a little bit of how it works with the mind, so that people can gain a better understanding of what is the hypnosis.
Right. So, as much as I would love to say I fix people, I don't.
Okay.
And let me explain that so that people don't just like turn this off and go, this is horseshit.
Shut it down.
Well, this was a waste of my time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I act as a GPS for people.
Okay.
So people know they don't want to be somewhere typically when they first contact me.
Yeah.
And some people have done the extra step and figured out where they want to be.
Okay.
So when people first contact me, I'm like, okay, you don't want to be there, cool, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
And then I act as their GPS to help them get there.
Okay.
So I am their guide on their journey. And just like a GPS, because like those shows, when people first talk hypnosis, they're like, hypnosis doesn't work for me. And I'm like, it does. You didn't listen.
Exactly.
We all enter and exit a hypnotic state all day, every day. We go in and out of trance all day, every day. I'm sure you've driven home. Maybe even you drove here and just ended up here and you're like, oh crap, I'm here already.
Yeah.
Or what, after a long day's work, you're just kind of zoned out and you're driving. That's a trance state.
So it's when you're like hyper focused and you're zone of your thoughts, right?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, hyper focus is a wonderful phrase to describe it.
Or like, let's say you work on something, someone's talking to you and you don't hear nothing, right? It's because you're too absorbed.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a trance?
Yeah, that's trance state for sure. So when people are doing hypnosis, just like when you have your GPS on, you can choose to follow the GPS's signal or you can choose not to. Okay. And so if I tell you to turn right and you turn left, two things are going to happen. You're either not going to get there, or I'm going to have to reroute you, and it's going to take longer. So for people who say, oh, hypnosis doesn't work for me, they turned left when I told them to turn right.
Okay.
Right? So it's up to everyone. They can choose. And that's the other thing, hypnosis, people are afraid of because they're like, oh God, you're going to take over my mind.
Yeah, that's what I would believe too. So that's why we're here.
Yes. Exactly.
People understand.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you're doing this because a large component of what I do is educating people about this whole process because it can seem like witchcraft.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's like this mystical, like people are like with magic, weird voodoo stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
dance puppets.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right? So.
Yeah, so it, just like with the GPS, you have control whether you choose to accept or reject the suggestion. And really, you're the one driving your car. You're the one driving the process. In
a session, you mean, like when you have a session with a client. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just navigating you there.
Okay.
So people who are really, really keen and really excited to make change, they're going to have amazing results.
So it's basically a bit like a life coach who will take a client to help them go to an objective, but that's with the conscious mind. Mm-hmm. You do that with the subconscious mind, so you're kind of helping them, but they have to be willing to get there.
Exactly. And for me personally, the beauty of a hypnosis or a hypnotherapist session is it's very individual to each person. So if you go to one hypnotherapist, it can be completely different than going to another hypnotherapist, depending on their practice, their philosophy, their morals, their own personal...
Because you have to connect too, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, big time. But for me, I like to have this wonderful blend of the conscious and the unconscious mind so that I talk to them consciously, they're aware, I get them on board, we're excited, we're working towards this goal. And then I bring in the unconscious mind to really amplify that and magnify that. And as much as life coaches can be amazing and have their place and whatnot, some of our stuff is stored so deep in the unconscious or subconscious, they both mean the same thing, that it's like when you go to the conscious part of your mind to solve that problem,
it's not deep enough, right?
It's not the right place.
Okay.
It's like going to the grocery store to buy a Ford 150.
Okay, yeah, it's not the right place.
Right, exactly.
So
you want to go to the Ford dealership, and most of your habits, most of your behaviors, most of your traumas, your issues are all stored in your unconscious part of your mind. So you can make some shifts and changes. Don't be discouraged with conscious decisions and whatnot. But, a lot of people fail at what they're trying to do, those weight loss goals, those stop smoking, those anxiety things, because they're not dealing with the right part of the brain.
Okay, and which part would that be if we get more specific and scientific,
the middle
part of it?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, but the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, and if you can explain the difference between both and how maybe memories or how they connect to one another or disconnect.
So the conscious mind is anything you're thinking about. It's the logical part of your brain. It's the I have 5 minutes left, I should do this. The unconscious part of your mind is responsible for, let me back up. The conscious mind is responsible for 3 to 7% of what you do.
Okay.
Tiny amount. And the unconscious is responsible for everything else.
Okay.
Right? So once we do something, if you went to tie your shoelace to leave, you wouldn't need to think about whether your right loop crosses over your left or, you wouldn't
goes instant.
You just do it. And a lot of the habits and behaviors that we have, we just do. And so it's stored in the unconscious part of the brain.
So they start from the conscious because we learned, and then we transfer it in the conscious and we do it automatically.
Yes, exactly. And the unconscious part of the mind is very literal.
Okay.
It doesn't quite have the same logical component. So let's say you're going to see your grandma, you're 5 years old, you're bringing your grandma a teddy bear.
Okay.
Really cute teddy bear. But it's raining outside. You get to her house and you're in the driveway and you open the door and you step out and it's slippery and you slip and you fall and you scrape your knees.
Okay.
The teddy bear goes flying in front of you. As you realize your knees hurt and they're bleeding and you're grossed out, you see the teddy bear. Your unconscious mind can make the connection of teddy bears are bad. They cause pain.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's what they saw at the moment when it was happening. And then all of a sudden you have this bizarre fear of teddy bears.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not logical, right? You're that's not what made me fall, but that's what you see. Those were the things present in that moment, and that's what your unconscious mind connects.
Okay.
So sometimes our fears and our phobias and our anxieties and our addictions and our behaviors are really weird.
Well, they come from misassociations of different things, right?
Great way to phrase it, yeah. And so when you're thinking about it consciously, you're teddy bears are okay, I'm going to touch a teddy bear, it's going to be good, I like teddy bears.
But then because the subconscious sends the wrong signal, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's programmed so much deeper than just touching it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the unconscious part of the brain is also responsible for your primal, your prehistoric programming as well.
Okay.
So its job is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And some of the things that it does has really old, shitty programming.
Okay.
For lack of a better term. So, these anxieties that we have, they're designed to keep us safe. We're feeling anxious because it doesn't want us to be in a certain situation because it feels that's dangerous. Yeah. But that programming is outdated. Like the teddy bear, that programming is outdated.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Right? And so with doing hypnosis, you can update your programming, so to speak, so that you get better information and really kind of realize that, hey, teddy bears, they're okay. Kind of thing, right? Yeah.
So, let's say a client comes to see you, right? So your first step would be to assess, obviously why they're here, what they want to work on.
Yeah.
And then how do you bring them there? So explain a little bit how you put people in a trance. So a trance or a hypnotic state, is what you less of the conscious, like you steer them away from the conscious mind and you try to make them access the subconscious mind, or how does it work?
Yeah, so when people first contact me, so usually I do a screening call or a little bit of dialogue to figure out where they want to go, because a lot of people know where they don't want to go. And where we put our focus and energy, that's what we get more of. So if I tell you, Matt, don't think of a blue tree, don't think of blue branches, don't think of beautiful blue leaves, don't think of blue bark, what did you think of?
That's all I have in my mind.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh, those leaves are beautiful.
Yeah. Well, it just popped like a blue tree and everything.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And so our brain doesn't always recognize those negative commands. Or when it does, we have to process it in order to unprocess it. So oftentimes we process that blue tree and then we just get stuck there. We're like, I'm not supposed to be processing it. And then as you don't process it, you're actually processing it.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So I help people to identify what they want. So it's in the positive. And then from there, kind of each person's different. Every situation's different. So my approach, it varies wildly depending on who I'm working with. However, I have a few brilliant techniques that I like to work with. And one of them is letting go of negative emotions. So if you think of like a pot on the stove, as we go through life, these negative emotions are added to this pot on the stove. And what happens is the level of that pot rises and rises and rises, and then all it takes is one little drop of a frustrating incident and we lose our shit. That pot boils over. So one of the things I really like to do is I like to take that pot and I like to empty it. I like to drain all of that previous baggage of anger, of sadness, of fear, of shame, of guilt, of all those feelings, and just drain that.
So how do you drain them with a client?
I have a needle and a syringe.
Put it in the brain.
Yeah. So like I said, the unconscious is right in the center, so the needle goes in there. So through different techniques and modalities that I've learned, I get them oftentimes in a very simple kind of explanation. I get them to access a memory and we change the modalities of it. We work on releasing it. We work on rewriting the programming of how the response goes to that situation.
So you don't make them forget. You try to turn it positive or rewrite whatever it is. So let's say a childhood trauma. You were beat down by your dad, let's say your whole childhood.
Yeah.
As a girl, and now you're afraid of men, for instance. So how would you reprogram that?
Right. So all of your memories can have a very positive director for you.
Okay.
So even those things can guide us and help us make good decisions. When it becomes a problem is when we re-experience all of those feelings that go with it. And so what I do is I keep all the memories. I don't take any memories away from anyone because those are guidance for them. That's going to help them steer to make good decisions later.
Yeah.
However, I take the emotional acidity out of it. So whenever they access that memory, they can access the lesson that they learned from it and not the feeling of fear or whatever, trauma. So I would work on releasing that past trauma because that is like the thread that weaves throughout their life. And once they get rid of that thread, everything else unravels and it becomes a much more safe place. I always work to take away those negative emotions, those traumas, and I always refill people with the most positive, empowered, amazing, calm, peaceful feelings.
Okay, so let's say in the case of, because I'm trying to understand this, in the case of the little girl that got beat up by her dad her whole life, right now she's afraid of man, she comes here, you put her in that trance state to access the memories of that childhood trauma, and how would you work on her? Like you suggest her things of like, okay, you're gonna let go of your anger towards that situation, for instance, or
right.
Just explain it a little if you can, or try at least with my example.
Fair enough. So if she was in here, if I was doing the pot emptying technique, I would have her access, let's say we're working with fear.
Okay.
I would have her access something a memory. It doesn't have to be that specific memory, and she doesn't have to tell me about it.
Okay.
So a lot of stuff can be done content-free, which is reassuring to people because they don't want to, they've talked about it a million times, most likely, with a therapist, and that just entrenches that fear, that entrenches those patterns and those responses even more.
Okay.
So I don't need to know. Once I kind of have a basis, that's all. Let's let go of it. So I get her to access it, and through different movements in her eyes, because if you think of someone who's trying to remember something, they might look up and to the right or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So there's different eye places that we go, which accesses different parts of our memories.
Yeah. Body language reading, kind of.
Exactly. And so I would get her to access it, and through breathing and through suggestions like letting go, giving yourself permission, and breathing. This sounds so simple.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, bullshit.
Well, yeah,
right?
Because you don't really understand the process, right?
Yeah. And through breathing and whatnot, through me kind of guiding her through the process, it just kind of dissipates.
So you're kind of making it just very subtle so that it doesn't have as much of an impact on our day-to-day life.
Yeah, the emotional charge just melts away.
Okay, so that's what you try to do with that negative emotion.
I don't try to do it.
No, you do it, yes. With her help, right? So
yes,
she has
absolutely.
To be,
yes. Yeah, exactly. Because I've had people who are like, and they're not looking or they're not following my instructions, and then it doesn't work.
So they don't get in that trance, and then you cannot work with their subconscious, right?
Yeah.
They stay too aware.
Not necessarily. They just don't follow the instructions. It's just as simple as look up, and they look down. Take a deep breath in, they breathe out.
Okay.
Okay, buddy, this you gotta work with me here.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's people's hesitancy and fear of letting go of fear. So I have to be very patient at times to remind myself that people aren't just trying to be assholes, they're just dealing with their stuff.
Exactly. Yeah,
right? Because I know some hypnotherapists get really angry when people don't listen.
Okay. It doesn't create that good link, right?
Nope.
So then they come back. And
and it's just these people sitting in the chair, they've been through stuff, they've seen stuff, they've had people respond in anger. They need love.
Exactly.
Right? Everyone needs more love.
Exactly.
So
that's what we all want, right? Ultimately.
Oh my God, it's so true. And the more I work with people, the more every single problem comes back to love and loving themselves and feeling, here we go.
Safe and enough, yeah.
Right? So my tattoo says enough. So this was a business expense.
Okay.
So that when people sit, they see enough, and it's an unconscious signal to them that they're enough.
Oh, okay.
Or it's an unconscious signal to them that they've had enough. Right? And it's time to move on. And also, I lead with my right hand, but it's on my right arm. And so when you shake someone's hand, and I lead with enough, right? Anyway, so when I do this activity, so I had this woman recently in that very chair, and she has had a debilitating level of anxiety. Where she wouldn't drive, she stopped driving. She is working from home 60% of the time because it's too much to go into work. She will not let anyone other than her husband drive her around. And she would have to be able to hold on to something if she was out in public. Her anxiety was through the roof. And the first session she showed up here, she came down and
that much, right?
Honestly, the highest level of anxiety I've ever seen.
Wow, okay.
And so I said, okay, cool. All right, good. Have a seat.
Breathe.
Welcome. And we start now. And so I did something with her very similar to emotional freedom tapping or thought-field therapy tapping. So I did a technique, and within 3 minutes, she went from the most anxious person I've ever seen to breathing, to feeling relaxed, to feeling nice and easy. And so I just had my third session with her on Tuesday, and we did the first session, lots of great techniques, lots of great shifts in her. And
so when you say techniques, or what different techniques that you know to bring people into that trance state to access their subconscious, or what do you mean by technique exactly?
yeah, okay. So the best way I can describe it is
Because you know it all in your mind, but that's what I
no,
what that means. So
no, I love that you're clarifying.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't get it. It's
well,
perfect.
Exactly.
No, it's perfect. So if you want to get fit,
Yeah.
right? You can do CrossFit, you can jog, you can do Zumba, you can do yoga, all these things, right? Still gets you fit.
Yeah.
It's very similar with hypnosis. Hypnosis has a million different techniques, and some of them I make up on the fly. I'm not even gonna lie.
Okay.
Yeah. But it all gets them to that end result.
Okay.
So this particular tapping is a technique I would use. The emotional emptying of the pot is a technique I would use.
Okay.
Changing submodalities of a situation when they access it in their memory is a technique I would use.
Okay.
So it's all different kind of approaches or techniques.
Okay.
Is that more clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you try different ones because they don't work on someone, so you take a different angle to see how you can get there, or any technique will work on anybody?
Good question. Typically, most of them will work on most people.
Okay.
However, we are all a little bit different, and some are more visual learners, some are more kinesthetic learners, and so and some people are really over analytical, so the approach would be slightly different with them.
Okay.
So part of a good hypnotherapist or hypnotist is being able to read people and kind of get intuitively what they need.
Okay.
And
So that's part of your job, kind
Yeah.
of like reading people, body language,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
And that's why that first initial contact is so important, because I learn a lot about them. I learn a lot about the way they frame their reality, the way they frame their world.
Yeah.
And then I come into their world and approach it from a way that makes sense for them.
Okay. Okay. So to go back to that lady,
Yes.
right? Okay. So she had a lot of anxiety, and you got
Crazy.
like a good first session. You brought her down.
Amazing first session. She was really, really sweet. Some people that I see, my heart just melts and I just fall in love with them.
It must be fulfilling for you, right? When you can make a change.
Yeah, huge. And for her, like, to see how limiting her world had become for her.
Yeah.
And so I saw her in the second appointment, and in that chair, she came here, and I was like, how you doing? She's like, I was doing really well, really, really well. I was feeling so much better until last night. I'm like, oh God, what happened?
Yeah.
And she's like, I was in the car, my husband was driving, and we were about to turn left, and we got T-boned.
Okay.
Cars and driving was her number one fear, and she got in a car
Brought it
accident.
all back again.
You would think.
You would, yeah. I would think that,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, one of her things was she had to consciously remember to breathe because she was so anxious that it became like relearning to tie her shoe again.
Yeah.
Because the anxiety had blocked so much for her.
Okay.
And so she said she got in the ambulance after when they were checking her out, and she's like, I was able to calm myself down.
Wow.
She's like, I haven't been able to do that forever. And she's like, and I'm like, okay, so how were you coming to the appointment today? She's like, I was okay.
Okay, cool.
The fuck?
Yeah, no, that's nuts.
You get in a car accident, like that used to be your biggest fear. You get in a car accident, and then you're okay to drive here. Who are you?
Exactly.
Right?
One session, so that's amazing.
It was amazing. And so the second session, we did this emotional pot
Yeah.
technique, and
So that you get her to empty, like visualize a pot and empty.
No.
That's not
So I go through the different emotions. I go through fear, I go through anger, I go through sadness, I go through shame, I go through guilt. And anything else really strong that they need to let go of, I go through that as well. And so I did this technique, and like her posture was, hunched over, and, like her face was tight and lots of lines.
Yeah.
And then throughout the technique, like her whole body shifted. And an interesting thing is some people will call their body their unconscious mind because it's really reflective of what's going on in the unconscious mind, right? If you see someone who's like walking down the street all hunched and like staring at the floor,
Morals down or something.
yeah, you know that they're not good, right?
Not at the top of their game.
No, good, yeah. And so her face softened. She lost 10 years of anxiety from her face. I actually had to get the mirror behind me down and like look at yourself.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my God.
She just started glowing more.
Yes.
Like revived.
Yes, it was beautiful. And
That's
then
awesome.
it was so incredible. And then I saw her on Tuesday, and she came in and she's like, I haven't had a panic attack in 2 weeks.
Wow.
She was in a constant state of anxiety before. And then after that session, we did another session. Freddie Jacquin is a brilliant hypnotist in the UK and a really great friend of mine. And
Nice.
He has this technique about letting go of limiting beliefs
Okay.
and self-doubt.
Yeah.
And it is one of my staples because it's fucking brilliant.
Oh, yeah, that's all.
Right?
Yeah.
It just unlocks the potential of so many people.
Because we all have limiting beliefs. Right?
Yes.
What we believe is where we stop.
Yes.
There's so much more.
I love the way you phrase that. And the thing about that is sometimes we have these beliefs that we haven't even put on ourselves or we're not even aware we have.
Yeah.
But it holds us back in so many aspects of our life. And this woman, I did this like release of those limiting beliefs.
Okay.
And then I just did like lots of pumping up. Like, you're amazing, you're strong, you're
Yeah, of
capable.
course.
Lots of these amazing, brilliant
And that's while she's in a trance, right?
Yeah,
So
this-
feed that in her subconscious.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she comes up and
Yeah.
and I'm like, and 5, eyes wide open, and she opens her eyes and she just has this sheepish grin on her face.
Nice.
And I was like, hey. She's like,
Hi.
it was so cute.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she was so glowing and so happy, and her smile was so fresh. And she's like, Jen, I've never been happy, and I feel so happy right now. And again, I had to get the mirror, and she's like, whoa. And she also, because of her anxiety, if she woke up in the middle of the night, she was up because her brain was causing her to
spinning.
Oh, yeah.
She can go back to sleep.
Yeah. Next morning, I got an email. I still can't stop smiling. I slept for 9 hours straight.
Wow.
So, like hypnosis, these things, I have a client who called it the ripple effect, which I love. So when you throw a rock in the water, it ripples out. And
If you throw it properly. It's otherwise I'll go.
all right, fine.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. I know what you mean.
So you throw a rock in, and
Yeah.
it disturbs the water,
Yeah.
right? And so we call it the ripple effect in my practice. And when someone comes from one area of their life, it ripples into the other areas of their life. So if they come to me for anxiety, all of a sudden their relationships with other people are being improved. All of a sudden they feel more confident in themselves. All of a sudden they're just finding they're feeling more joy. It ripples into their life. It's amazing.
Because you fed all of that in their subconscious, right? Or
Part of it. And when you're
letting go of all.
letting go of the stuff that holds them down, and it's so cool. It's so cool. When someone's in hypnosis, sometimes they slouch forward. They get really relaxed and they
Have
slouch
one back of mind, they go like, oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check out my videos.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing unconscious work with people, this really cool thing happens where they go like this and they kind of bop and start rising up.
Okay.
And it's almost like when a helium balloon has been held tight and then it just let go.
And they all do it?
It happens a lot.
Okay.
And these are things as a hypnotherapist that I see when the unconscious mind makes those changes.
Yeah.
Those things, you can see it being released from their body as it releases from their unconscious mind. And she had one of those moments in those episodes, in our sessions, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see.
And are you able, when you work with a client, to fix them permanently, or is there always a chance they relapse back in their old memories, their old fears, their old anger, can you really make that disconnect so that they're good, after a few sessions or whatever amount of work you did, and they can carry on with their life feeling free?
Right.
Or they have to come back because the memories plays tricks and takes over again?
Good question. So every time you access a memory, you change it slightly, whether you intend to or not.
Okay.
Right? So if I said, when you had your 6th birthday, what was it like?
Yeah.
Were there balloons? And then you're like, oh, wait, were there balloons? And you search it, and then you can adjust it based on trying to remember
I wouldn't
something.
be able to remember now, but maybe my subconscious would.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So oftentimes we we shift our memories, period, right? We can intensify them or de-intensify them based on our frame of mind. But when someone comes to see me, they're going to experience life after. So they're going to have times where they're sad. They're going to have times where they're maybe feeling a little anxious. You know, like if you got in a car accident, a normal response is for you to feel anxiety. And you need those negative emotions because they guide you and navigate you through life. So it's helpful. So they're going to experience these things, but like I said earlier, I want the conscious and unconscious mind on board. So I give them conscious tools that they can access to help their unconscious mind. So that when they come to see me, they become a better hypnotist of themselves.
Okay.
So that they're better able to deal with their life.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
They might want to come back and deal with something a year later,
That's unrelated to what they work on with you.
Exactly.
Previously.
Or they might need like a little, what we call like a little touch-up. Right? Yeah, where they're just like, okay, I'm feeling really stressed. I don't want to get to there. Can you help me before I get there? But typically, when people come to see me and they've released something, they've released it. It's not like they can search through the ether world, bring it back, right?
Yeah, it's gone.
So yeah, when they truly release it and truly let go of those experiences, gone.
Yeah, because the memory changed forever. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it won't go back to what it was.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
It's super cool. That's why I'm like, I have the best job ever.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I wanted to ask you about, like, touching techniques. And I saw videos when they, like, touch the head and they move the head or they touch the shoulder. Or what does that do for the body, like, to help with what you're trying to do when you work with a client or you put them in a trance? What does the touching aspect do?
So, yeah, that's a good question. So for some people, there's a person that I used to hypnotize, and they had a really hard time going into trance. They had a really hard time letting go of control.
So they would stay too conscious and you couldn't really work.
Yeah, they just put up those blocks. They'd be like, close your eyes.
For me, or
kind of thing. So do I have permission to touch you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would just take him and I would just rock him a little bit.
So then that, like,
Yeah. Or anytime you would exhale, I'd put just a little bit more pressure.
Okay.
Right? And it just kind of gave that physical release and that physical guide.
Okay.
Some people benefit really well from having that, like,
so like as they exhale and you put pressure, it's like they release. Like
it just kind of, like, okay, so take a deep breath in for a second. And exhale. Good. Do you notice the difference of just, and now I'm not going to press?
Yeah.
I could hear, thank you, microphone.
It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I could hear that deeper release in there.
Yeah,
right?
I felt it too.
Yeah, and longer. So just for you, that would be good to know, like a little cue. Oftentimes, though, in sessions, I don't need to do it. When I use a lot of touch is in my straight hypnosis.
Okay.
Because I've just walked up to someone, they've never met me, and I'm like, hey, cool, want to see something cool about your mind? And they're like, okay.
So street hypnosis is more like a little show, like you're just showing the cool stuff, not the really working on fixing issues, addictions, fears and stuff, right?
Typically. So when I go out to do street hypnosis, I go out to show the power of your unconscious mind.
Okay.
And so I do what's called Hypnotic Phenomenon, and it's a phenomenal. And so I'll take someone and I'll glue their feet to the floor, where they cannot move their feet. They believe and try to move their feet, and they cannot move their feet.
Wow.
And I say, if I can stick your feet to the floor, what other habit that you want to be stuck to could I stick you to? Right?
Yeah, right.
Or if I make them forget their name, one of the first words that they ever identified with, what else can I help them forget?
Yeah.
Right? So I use street hypnosis in a really fun, interesting way to educate and show the power of your unconscious mind. And sometimes, like on my latest video that I just released yesterday, I was in the Dominican hypnotizing this really lovely, lovely lady. But she was so timid, and I could tell. Yeah. She wanted to like have these fun experiences. I'm like, it's not going to go this way.
No.
I knew that, but I still, wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And so I made her. I'm like, and your name will be gone, And eyes wide open. And she opened her eyes. I'm like, oh, hi, my name's Jennifer. And what's your name? And she's like, and she did the eye accessing. She's like,
So she's trying to remember.
yeah. And she's like, I don't know what my name is. And so I'm like, who's this? And who's this? People that she was with. And she's like, oh, okay, I know them. And I'm like, okay. And then she starts crying. I'm like, oh shit, this is what got sour. A little bit of release here going on.
That's not what I wanted.
But it's fine. And I had anticipated it with her, so I was ready. And she was just holding on to some really, really crappy stuff.
Yeah.
And so an example of me making shit up and on the spot, because I also do improv like for fun, which helps immensely in my practice. I just held up a little imaginary balloon in front of her mouth.
Okay.
I said, whatever it is that you need to let go of right now, I want you to blow in this balloon, never to affect you again.
Okay.
And so you can see her in the video. And she's like, trying to push it all out. And I take the balloon and I tie it in a knot and I throw it away and I tell her just to imagine that balloon just flying, drifting.
And is she in a trance when you do that, or is she fully aware?
She is alert in that her eyes are open, but she's still tranced. She's still tranced out.
Because that's something people don't know. They're aware, right? When you hypnotize them, they know, they hear, they feel. If you touch them, they feel, they...
Yes.
Right?
And you don't always have to be in a trance. Like, I don't have to say, and sleep too.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever watched a commercial and there's been a Dorito commercial on, and you're like, oh God, I want some Doritos.
Yeah.
Right? You weren't, the commercial didn't start by saying, and relaxed.
Yeah,
Right? It just goes in.
Yeah.
So we get suggestions all of the time. Suggestions go in easier if you're in a trance-like state.
Okay.
However, you just talking to me and staring in my eyes and just matching my breathing, and you can feel yourself going into trance now, easier and easier, right?
Well, because I look like I'm more focused.
Right? Yeah.
On us talking than
Exactly.
my surroundings.
Exactly. And so easily, just by saying stuff like that, I can bring you into a trance and plant wonderful suggestions for you.
Okay.
So people don't have to be this like zombie-like state, and they don't have to have like drool hanging out of their mouth. Yeah. They're aware of what's going on. They just choose to allow it to happen.
Okay. Because when they go like numb like this, like just like...
Yes.
So what's that? Like it's just their...
Immense relaxation. Immense like letting go.
Like their muscle just collapse and they fall into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when you can suggest more stuff.
Yeah, that's when it's even easier. Everyone's suggestible all the time, but it's even easier to implant those suggestions because your conscious mind has taken a step to the side. Like your conscious mind is kind of like a bouncer or like a security guard in an art gallery, right? And your unconscious mind is full of all these amazing things, and your unconscious mind is very valuable. So your conscious mind is like the security guy, like, hey, you good?
Yeah.
Should you be in here?
Yeah.
All right, okay, fine. And so that's why that rapport is really important as well, because if you have comfort level with me, you're going to let your security guard, your security guard will take an even bigger step aside.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Well,
Yay.
Makes sense, right?
Good, yeah, it does. And so...
Otherwise, if I like resent you a bit or I'm like skeptical of you, then I'm not going to really follow, like you say, the commands and get into it, right?
Yeah, and skeptics are my favorite.
Yeah.
I get a lot of skeptics because they're really like, I don't get it. How can this be? And this woman that I was just telling you about before, she came out of trance and she's like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
She's like, I was sitting here going, all right, I'll breathe and like touch this finger and like, okay. But she's like, I don't believe you. She's like, no, I do. And she actually called me a witch on Tuesday.
Oh, for real?
For real. She's like, I don't know what kind of witch you are, what magic you do, but it's working.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It is cool. It is good. She's like, sorry, I didn't mean to call you a witch in a bad way.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit what people think, right? Because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because we don't understand the mind, right?
No.
Nobody knows, really.
It's so complicated.
Yeah,
it really is. So with this woman on the resort, it went from, it turned into a bit of a therapy session where I had switched lots of hypnotic gears to find the right thing that was going to get her to where she was feeling good and feeling really calm.
So was that a part of like the resort, like you associated with the resort to do a little hypnosis gig, or it was a vacation and you can't let go of that even on vacation, so you got into it with that lady?
Great question. So as far as the border patrol was concerned,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It was vacation.
Yeah.
However, I went with my friend who was my videographer, and I went with all my staff. My intent, this was kind of a pilot project.
Okay.
Like, how can I use this resort atmosphere to get videos? How can I use it to grow my YouTube, to grow my following, like all these things.
Of course.
So it was very much like a work trip that just happened to be an amazing place and lots of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that was my focus, was work.
Awesome. So what's your biggest success story? Like somebody, let's say I don't know, what your biggest success story? Somebody who came here with like the biggest problem or whatever it was, and how you changed them completely.
I have a number of people that come to mind, and one of them was I help. We're a really anxious society.
Yeah, for sure.
We're fucking like just losing our shit.
Well, it's getting worse and worse because people have less and less time. Cost of life goes up, salary don't follow, and people are stressed all the time.
And we can use those as excuses, but we're so disconnected from ourselves, and we just lack trust. We don't trust anything or anyone, and particularly ourselves. So I'm getting goosebumps, which is like it's can you see it?
Yeah. You get intense.
It's my when I'm on something.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's it.
I'm with you.
Oh, thank you. So I had this one girl who was highly functioning, very anxious, but really, really, just, again, one of those people that touched my heart.
Yeah.
So beautiful. And she was super, super anxious all the time, again, just living in constant anxiety. And we did, again, really, hypnosis is fast. Like, you're not going to see me for more than like 3, 4, 5 sessions unless it's weight release, because you can't walk out of an hour session 50 pounds lighter. I don't have a chainsaw.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I do things safely. This one woman, she came in and she was really amazing. We did this lovely session, and she just, again, that like desire to truly change was there. And so she was going to do whatever I asked her to do.
Okay, so that was a good client.
Yes, yeah, my favorite. And we did a session, and she's like, Jen, it's different. Things are different for me. And I get people to sort for differences, like really notice what's different about your life. Because as you look for sameness, it sticks you where you are. You're like, oh, still depressed.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So she came in and she's like, Jen, I called my parents. And I was just talking to my parents. I didn't tell them about hypnosis because most people are kind of embarrassed that they're doing hypnosis.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here, right? So I want to educate people, and with your help, obviously, because I don't know anything about the subject.
Now you do.
Exactly. To debunk all of that so that people can feel more at ease of trying different avenues, right? Because when people want to change things, they try different things, and there's many options, and hypnosis is one of them that hopefully we can educate people about.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. So this young woman was talking to her parents, and they're like, what's up, so-and-so? She's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you sound different. So she was so... You can check out her Google review. She was so profoundly shifted that she's like, my whole life is different. Like, just from doing these anxiety, techniques, and she's like, I have the tools to deal with what I need, and my unconscious has been kind of smoothed out and reassured. And she's like, I love myself. I'm like digging who I am, and there's an amazing power that comes with when you dig who you are. Like, truly, like, look in the mirror and you're like, yes.
You're comfortable with this.
Right? Yeah, it's amazing. And so she's one that, like, her whole life transformed. But I also had this other woman who, her son died, I don't know why, when he was a teenager. I think it was like 10 years before. And she sat in the office upstairs, and we did the emotional release technique, and she cried. Oh man, did she cry.
Yeah.
And she released, and then she was able to tell me a story after about her son. And she's like, Jen, I haven't been able to talk about him for 10 years without crying. And she had a smile on her face while she was telling me the story. So stuff like that is so powerful. Or people with pain that come and see me, and then like one session and their pain is gone, right? Like it's your brain. My dad has this saying, and I used to like roll my eyes whenever he said it growing up, but he's like, it all starts in between your ears.
That's true. It's crazy, eh?
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And, you know, like our pain is processed in our brain.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, your brain is the one who makes it bigger or lessen.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, you have the power to adjust that. And that's where the whole dual aspect came in, right? When we call it pain, or like our perceived notions of what birth is like, and changing that. And
even like Navy SEALs and military, they do that, right? Because they go on those crazy like walks, and they're in crazy pain, but they have to keep going, right? So.
Yeah, it goes back to that like limiting belief, right?
Yeah.
So when we put this like, oh, it's painful, I can't do it.
Yeah, I gotta stop.
Yeah. Our mind gives out way before our body ever gives out. And so it's just, there's so many, like, I don't have one story. Like, the power of hypnosis and seeing what it does for people and how it changes their life. And I drove home from that session on Tuesday crying.
Oh, yeah.
I did. I was just like, and it impacts me. So, like, what's a success story? It's me. I grew up like an anxious motherfucker.
Yeah. Where do you?
Yeah, totally anxious. Where my world was so small, Matt.
Yeah.
My world was so small. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of heights. I was afraid of like pain. I was afraid of all these things. And not until I had these hypnosis techniques that I've ever felt empowered, like truly able to face.
Like, did you apply them to yourself?
Yes.
So you can self-hypnotize or self-work?
Yes, absolutely. And I've had some things going on in my life for the past little bit, and some anxiety that would have debilitated me before.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really shitty. I'm like, oh, I'm going to tap. And then after, I'm like, yeah, I'm good, right? So now I can use these techniques for myself. So I know from a personal perspective how impactful hypnosis is, because I rarely get anxious unless that situation calls for anxiety, right? And I can share these little tips. Like, I was ziplining in the Dominican Republic, and we had to climb up this like.
So you had fun.
I did. But everything I did, I made a video. So we got like horseback riding, and I got sound bites for ASMR stuff. And like, I did have fun. I love what I do. I have fun, but when I'm horsebaking. And there was this couple behind me that were trembling with fear. And so I just got them to hold their middle finger. Okay. Just like this. And it releases feel-good emotions in you. And it kind of blocks out that fear. And they're like, oh.
Just by holding it.
Just by holding the middle finger. And so
For anybody? That's something you can do?
Yeah, everyone can do this, yeah.
Everyone take that technique.
Take that, yeah. There's other techniques like that. Yeah. But if you want to PayPal me some money for it.
There you go.
Hey, I gotta pay my bills.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, and just by getting them to like bring their eyes up and widen their vision, so you use your peripheral vision, so you have full 180 degree, they were able to look over the edge of the railing, and they were having fun ziplining, whereas they were just not having fun before. So these techniques are so practical, and little things like that just helps you, again, become a better hypnotist of yourself, right? So sometimes it's physical techniques, sometimes it's, like tapping, sometimes it's just, I have something called the New Truth, where the whole law of attraction thing, you write down what you want as if it's happening right now. Yeah. And you have it, and it's so powerful. So all of these things that I teach in the session, in addition to that state, like
gets in there.
It's just all very impactful.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, in terms of addiction, that's a personal question I have. So, someone that has an addiction, let's say to drugs, right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like a physical dependency on the high or the substance. So, how can you make that disconnect with the hypnosis to get them to quit their addiction?
Yeah.
Because their body craves it, and then you suggest in their mind that you're done with that addiction, but can the body still crave it, but the mind says, no, you don't need it? How does it work?
Yeah, so addiction is so intense.
That must be hard to work with, right? Is it?
It can be.
Because they want to change, but they have that obstacle versus someone who wants to change a fear. Like, they're more willing to.
So...
I don't know. You're the pro.
Thank you. We're addicted to way more things than drugs.
Yeah.
And that's where my mind first goes, like food. Food is a way bigger addiction than drugs.
Stuff like
oh,
that.
God, yeah. Addicted to shitty relationships.
Yeah.
Addicted to, like, yo-yo dieting. Like, addicted to alcohol, addicted to smoking. All these things. Our unconscious mind has a reason that, and it's back to that old shitty program.
Yeah.
It has a reason or belief that they're okay, let's just use you for an example.
Let's do it.
You have a drug addiction.
Okay. Whatever it is.
Yeah. And your unconscious mind thinks that when you get that drug, you're gaining something because you have those feel-good emotions and you have that flood.
That's why people go back to it, right?
Right.
They feel better on it than without.
Yeah, so a lot of hypnotherapists will use something called parts or parts therapy, a derivative thereof, where we talk to your unconscious mind, we say, yes, you're getting this thing from, drugs.
Yeah.
How else can you get that feel-good feeling? How else can you get that? And your unconscious mind will generate different ideas. And then you're like, hey, unconscious mind, which one of those ideas do you like best?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I really like jogging. Jogging will give me that high. Okay, cool. Unconscious mind, are you ready to let go of that old habit now and
replace
use
it,
that?
or,
Yeah, right? So that's one way.
Okay.
So through parts therapy, and then your unconscious mind realizes, like, okay, that's a thing that I no longer need.
Yeah.
And you also say, like, that thing that you're doing, that's hurting you. That's old programming.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not helping you. It's deteriorating this and this and this. So let's do this new thing, and let's feel amazing, and let's feel power. And then for me, anytime I deal with addictions, people need some more self-love. It's always back to that love, right? So I like to pump up the shit for people. Like...
Make them feel like love and love themselves.
I'm like a little boxer ready to go. Like, let's do this, right? I get super pumped in my sessions. And it's like, I want you to love yourself, and I will be the biggest cheerleader for you, Matt, while you let go of that thing and move on to this new, amazing, more grounded, solid self.
Wow.
And I will be your number one cheerleader, but you need to work for it. I will not work harder than you.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But together, you're supported, you're elevated, you're growing, you're doing stuff. So that would be one way. And then so combining it with like, hey, that's crap.
And I love yourself. I'll love you, I'll help you.
Yeah. And then you get to that point where like, I love myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. And then like a good parent releases their child into the wild. With all of these skills and abilities and confidence levels that allows them to succeed on their own.
Okay, well that's awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, cool.
So before we wrap it up, I want to know, can we do a little street show, like a little street thing that you would do?
Yeah.
Just with me, let's say, whatever, glue my feet to the ground or whatever, just let people that are watching, we can just demonstrate that it works, on a basic level, like we're not comfortable with that. My fears and my problems. That's not the goal, but just to show them.
Hey guys, you want to know what Matt's afraid of?
Yeah, horses actually.
Are you?
I'm super afraid of horses, never know where it came from, never had a bad experience with a horse, but I'm shit scared of horses.
They're big.
Well, they're big, they're scary, and they're strong, so.
They are. I
like ponies better.
They're scary. Little, so you can like step on.
My wife laughs at me all the time with that. She's like, I have fear of that. Yeah.
You know what? I respect that. Not that I don't respect other people, but I respect a fear of horses more than a fear of spiders, like Canadian spiders, let me clarify. Because those things are harmless, right? Yeah. But horses are big, however, they're amazing. And that's actually one of the limiting beliefs is I grew up as a horseback rider.
Okay.
When we could afford it. And riding...
It's expensive, eh?
It is.
Super expensive sport or something.
Yeah, I do luxury sports. So I was actually riding yesterday, and riding now as an adult, I still have those fears of the horse taking off, and I didn't have the best instructors growing up, so I didn't really have a true understanding, whereas now my instructor's amazing. Love you, Erin. And so I feel more empowered in this, but when I did this for myself, the letting go of those limiting self-beliefs, the next riding lesson, I was like, wow, does that make a big difference? Right? Like I was still doing it, but like it just freed me even more. I'm like, all right, you want to misbehave? Let's do this. Right? So it was really fun. So no, we can do that off camera if you want. Get rid of that fear now easily and effortlessly. But when I do street hypnosis, so one of the first things I do is I do something called magnetic fingers. Magnetic fingers, if you Google that, you'll see a boatload of people doing it. It's super simple. My child can do it. It's easy. Right. And so I'm just going to need you to, I'll demo it with a microphone, and then I'll walk you through it, and then I'll explain while you're doing it.
Sure.
Make sense?
Yeah, let's
okay. So in a second, but not yet, I'm going to get you to rub your hands together.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm going to get you to interlace your fingers together.
Yeah.
You're going to bring your pointer fingers up, and you're going to separate them. All right? Super simple. Two things I don't want you to do. I don't want you to freak out when it happens. It's fun. You can be like, yay! But don't stop the process. Okay? And the other thing I don't want you to do is I don't want you to go like, hey, this is my podcast and video. You know, I want this to be successful. I'm going to humor Jen and make it happen.
Yeah,
right?
No, I'm going to roll with it, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
So you can put your microphone
down. Yeah, I'll put it down. I can even mute it so that it doesn't make sounds.
Smash into stuff.
Or whatever.
Perfect. Okay. So I want you to rub your hands together.
Like this.
Okay. Yeah. Getting your energy flowing. Nice deep breath in. Good. I want you to rub your hands like you actually mean business. There we go. Perfect. Good. And I want you to take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, I want you to interlace your fingers together. Good. And I want you to bring your hands up like you're saying a prayer. Perfect. Really bring those fingers together so you're locked in. Good. I want you to bring those pointer fingers up. I want you to separate them about 1 inch apart. And I want you to stare down that space, and I want you just to see those fingers coming together. I want you to feel the pull of those fingers, almost as if there's magnets on the inside of both of those fingers. Each breath you take, that right pulls towards the left, and the left pulls towards the right. That's right. And as you find it interesting, they come together even more. That was awesome.
Wow.
How was that?
It's cool.
Here you
It's cool, seriously. Is it because you're suggesting it, so then my mind releases the finger? Because at first I keep them separated, right? But you suggested that.
Yeah.
But I didn't do anything. It was happening on its own.
Yeah. So I want to take you to level 2 before I answer that.
Okay, let's do level 2.
So put your microphone down.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, rub your hands together again like you mean business. All right? And I want you to imagine in your mind's eye the size of a hockey puck. Okay? And I want you to imagine you've seen those magnets that are enormous, right? And big and really strong and powerful. I want you to imagine 2 hockey-sized puck magnets. Now, as you extend your arms out in front of you, good. And separate your arms about 6 inches apart. Oh, an accurate 6 inches from a man. Impressive. And just imagine that there's magnets on the inside of those palms, those big hockey puck-sized magnets. And just feel the pull of those magnets together. As you feel the intensity of the right pulling towards the left and the left pulling towards the right. As you stare down that space and just feel that space getting smaller and smaller. Good. As they get closer and closer together. And I want you just to close your eyes down. And I want you just to feel and focus all your energy on those magnets on the inside of your palms. Just feeling that growing stronger and stronger. Each breath you take, they get stronger and stronger together. Even more so. Good. Feel the bounce of those powerful magnets as they draw together even more now. That's right, just like that. Good. And now I want you to just imagine now that those magnets have glue inside of them. I want you to imagine that those magnets are oozing out glue all through your fingers, all through your palms. Almost like when you were a kid and you had those art projects and the glue just oozed out from each area. Just imagine that now. And if you had to think which was stickier, your palms or your fingers, which would be stickier now, even more sticky? The palms or your fingers, which are more sticky? Good. And now I want you just to imagine right now, imagine that glue is drying and sticking tighter and tighter. And the tighter it gets, the stronger it is now. And I want you to try pulling them apart. And notice as you try pulling them apart, they become even stronger now. Good. And open your eyes. Good. And you can just open those easily now. That was amazing. You're all red-faced from trying so hard.
Well, I work out, so I was able to separate the glue.
Solid.
That's intense, yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
'Cause I was forcing, like, my face red.
There was exertion there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, normally when you go through your like day, you don't need to to get yours perfect. Yeah. So with the first one, I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
Yeah, explain.
And your viewers a little secret. So this is physiologically, your fingers are going to come together, right? Everything else is linked together, and so physiologically they're going to come together. When I do this with people, this part isn't so much of a hypnosis trick, but as figuring out what you're all about. Okay? So oftentimes I'll see people do it and their fingers will come together and they'll be like, it's almost like you can see on their face, they're like, no, not this one, kind of thing, right? And
as you relax it naturally, right? Because everything's close and works together. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. So you have to fight to keep them from coming together. And so if you're fighting me on something this simple, where your eyes are open, you're awake, and you're alert, it's going to be harder on the street with all the noise, people walking by, you don't know me, to get you to do more. So I'll do this, and I'll give them a benefit of the doubt, because as lovely as I am, sometimes it takes a minute or two for people to realize that if this person's okay, they can trust me, and we're good. So from there, I'll do magnetic hands. Again, this is another really, really common thing that hypnotists will do to kind of suss things out. This one doesn't always happen. Your arms don't always come together automatically. So this is where the true power of your suggestion comes in, and it's like layering you. It's getting you accustomed to following my suggestions. So this one starts out, then we go here, and then by gluing your hands together or having, I can take it a million different places at that point, I know what kind of subject, hypnotic subject you're going to be.
So how am I?
You're great. You're really great. You're also very determined, though you're like, I'm going to get my hands apart because I don't want to appear weak.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to really force it. I didn't want to just be like, okay, they're glued. Let's see how glued they are.
Yeah. So you really tested it. So you remind me of a fun client I had. I love her. She came in for smoking. She wanted to stop smoking. We did one session, and then she went in her world, and she's like, I'm actually gonna I don't want to smoke, but I'm going to smoke to see if I like it anymore. And so she'd light up a cigarette and have a couple drags and be like, ooh, this is actually really gross. And then would put it out. But she had to test it. She's like, do I like this anymore? I don't want one, but do I like it? And
because you worked with her to make, disconnect that.
And it's gross.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so then for the second session, she's like, I have to be honest, too.
I tried.
Yeah, I tested it, and she's like, it was gross. I wasn't able to smoke a full cigarette at all. She's like, I tried it a couple different times. It was disgusting.
Well, I would test it too, I think, just to see if the work we did worked.
Right. Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly you did.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious in nature, right? So I like to test things out.
Fair enough. And so sometimes with phobias, like if I worked with you and we, were...
My horse phobia.
Yeah, I would take you out and be like, let's go see a horse.
Yeah.
Right? Or some people, like fear of flying, they even just thinking about it gets really anxiety provoking. So sometimes after we've done our work, I'll be like, okay, test it out now. Think about flying. Think about sitting in that plane. Think about looking out the window. Thinking about the stewardess offering you a drink. Are you game? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right? And so we can reprogram the memory and we can future pace so that they practice it in their unconscious mind. So just like tying those shoes, you practiced it, we can practice in the future you're doing that new technique, and then it becomes solidified in your unconscious mind.
Okay, so that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a learning process that you're able to learn so much faster.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you would be a fun candidate for doing hypnosis. And I think with you, the more activities we did, the more you just get lost in the process, and the more you just have really like a good time doing the street style stuff. Like,
that was cool. That was interesting. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
In the resort, there's a video coming out, who knows when, but somewhat shortly, where there's a grown-ass man who is flying around the resort, fluttering his wings, because I told him he was a butterfly.
Okay.
And he's flying around, and he's stomping in all the lit areas, and he's just so joyous. He was such a happy butterfly. But he was like, that was the best. And a really cool thing, the ripple effect. He had arthritic knees, where when we started doing the straight hypnosis, he wanted to sit because his knees were too sore.
Yeah.
And then throughout the process, we were standing up, and he got a sunburn that day. And by the end of the session, I did nothing for pain.
Wow.
He was standing like, oh, my knees feel so good. Like, my sunburn doesn't hurt. And I can move my knees. I can stand. I feel good. He's like,
because you worked on that too?
No,
not even?
Nothing.
It's just because he was too concentrated on something else?
It's just because he really let go.
Wow. Okay. And when he was doing the butterfly, was he fully aware? How did that work? Like, is he like awake like me and you right now? So and he's doing the butterfly, like not caring about people laughing at him?
Yeah, he didn't care. He was so happy. He was like, Jen, I knew it was a butterfly, but I also knew like...
Well, people probably thought he was drunk. It's Dominican.
That's true.
Everybody's drunk and doing stupid shit.
That's true. It's true.
In the pool during the day and stuff.
True. However, they could tell it was something different going on. But
how did that work?
Which part?
The butterfly. Like, how does it work in his mind?
Yeah. So
it goes about this butterfly experience.
I had this really great client come out of hypnosis and say, Jen, it's like I'm watching two screens at once.
Okay.
One is my unconscious, things that you're talking to my unconscious about, and one's my conscious. And it's like shared focus. So sometimes I was more aware of what was going on, and other times it was like, okay, I'm a butterfly, but I don't fucking care.
Okay, so it's the subconscious and the conscious, so they're in that mixed state.
Yeah, yeah. So you're aware, but it's like this veil. It's like similar to when you're in the Dominican and you're drunk and you're like, oh, I don't dance, but who cares? Let's dance, right? It's kind of like that. The inhibitions are gone. You're aware, but you just don't care. You're game.
Wow.
And that's what straight hypnosis especially is like.
Yeah, it's more tricks like that. Like fun stuff.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But it's also like, I won't do anything. So like someone was like, I have a lot of likes. Someone said, hey, Jen, can you hypnotize someone and humiliate them? Like, just get them to do stupid stuff where they're just so humiliated. Yeah. I'm like, no.
Because they would be aware and not do it, or?
No, because it's not what I'm about.
Oh, but could you?
Yes, if I was a terrible human.
Yeah.
But all the stuff that I do is about empowering. Can it be silly and light?
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm not going to humiliate anyone.
So you could get people to do things they don't want to do.
Oh,
I wasn't too sure about that. I thought they have to be willing to comply in their subconscious mind.
This is an age-old debate.
Okay.
The simple thing is, if you don't want to turn right, you won't turn right.
Yeah, you were saying the GPS, right? So that's so, you know.
However, if you think of an abused person, right? They don't want to be abused, but they keep going back.
It's true.
So there's a level of control or trust or submission that can come from very dark places of unresolved issues in your unconscious mind.
Okay.
And so you could end up doing things that you wouldn't want to do, in a sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and that's why for me, when someone's like, humiliate them, I'm like, hell no.
Well, it's just, it's not fun to take advantage of people
exactly.
in a vulnerable state, right?
Like, as much as hypnosis, you can read a book and you can figure out how to walk someone through magnetic fingers or hands or whatever, and you can do these techniques or whatever. I think to be a really good hypnotist, and humble, no. It's like, have you ever had a massage and you're like, okay, cool. And then had another massage by someone else and been like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right?
But it depends how intuitive they were, right?
Yeah, and there's a level of intuition and special ability that I think makes a hypnotist a really good hypnotist.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think part of that is intent. And my intent with my hypnosis is always to empower people.
Yeah.
I want people to feel like friggin' superheroes.
Okay.
And for me, I feel like it's a misuse of my gift to humiliate people.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's a misuse of power.
Yeah.
So I'll get them to do silly things.
And it doesn't benefit you in any way.
No.
Even money-wise. You wouldn't come back.
It's true. It's true. And like some...
Mean Jen.
I know, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Never again.
It's true. She's a witch.
Yeah.
So it's really important to me, like, to never ask anything of someone that they're not comfortable with, and to know their boundaries.
Okay.
And even there is one example of me where I hypnotized someone to become a zebra.
Okay.
And it's my favorite video, actually.
Yeah.
And
do you have it on your channel?
I do have it on my channel, yeah. And this lady was fun, right?
Yeah.
But she also had this very underlying fear of being stupid. Okay. Or being like not enough. And when you open your eyes, you'll be a zebra and you'll only speak zebra.
Speak zebra. That's interesting.
Right?
How was that?
I usually don't laugh because I don't want to embarrass the person. But
The made up language she made up in her mind, right?
So she opened her eyes and she's like, I lost my mind. It was so funny. And so, because I lost my mind, because she like facially and physically just embodied that zebra so meticulously and magically, I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
And then she stopped. She's kind of like, it broke. And she's like, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm like, oh, because that triggered in her.
So she was able to snap out of it.
Yes, because her unconscious mind was like, nope.
Nope, not going there.
Now I don't feel safe. So it brings down. So that's why, like, some people say you can't make someone do what they don't want to do.
But that's the basic instinct of life, right? It's being safe, right? So the moment you feel threatened, that's like super basic in our...
Exactly. So generally speaking, you won't do what you don't want to do.
Okay.
Which, when someone's like, I tried to quit smoking with hypnosis and it didn't work. And then you see them, they're like, oh, smoking's so bad. I hate it, it's so bad. You know what? You can see, you're like, you don't really want to quit. And so if you really don't want something, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so it's a work that you do together with clients. They have to be willing to change. They have to put in their efforts.
Yeah.
And you just help facilitate this connection or to get them where they want to be.
Yeah. Use whatever technique that's going to get them to where they need to be. And sometimes it's as simple as metaphors, right? Like when you tell someone a metaphor for something.
They're good with that, I notice.
Yeah, thank you.
Analogies to, make you understand on a basic level what you're
Thank
trying
you.
to do. Yeah, that's good.
I'm probably going to be releasing a book soon about metaphors for life, actually.
Will you?
Stay tuned. Yeah, truly.
Nice. Okay.
Truly.
Cool.
I have so many amazing projects in the oven and percolating and all these really awesome magical things that I'm doing.
Nice.
And it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Like, I just feel like...
So that's your next project or something you work on maybe on your off time and you don't do it. If you have any.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm always like taking notes of metaphors and like metaphors for in session and metaphors for life and metaphors for this and that, because our unconscious mind processes things so beautifully in metaphors. Right?
Yeah,
where a conscious mind is like,
yeah.
gosh, that's a nice story, and the unconscious mind is like, ah.
I get it now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's very powerful.
Great. Well, thank you so much for this interview. Seriously, it was awesome. I learned a lot from my own self, and people at home hope you know a bit more about hypnosis and we clarified a few of the questions they might have. So this is your time to plug in your,
Yes.
how to access you or how to be in touch with you.
Yeah.
I'll put all the description, like all the links to your website or
Thank you.
in the video,
Right.
podcast description too.
Love
But so go ahead.
Okay, so my business name is Grounded Hypnosis. So anything you want to find me on, search Grounded Hypnosis. So my website is groundedhypnosis.com. My Instagram is Grounded Hypnosis, where I do a Minute Monday. Every Monday I do like a little like fun tip. I'll give things to think about, or techniques like the holding the middle finger, how to deal with fear, how to deal with anger, all these different kind of things. So Instagram, if you're on there, is great. I also put it on Facebook. Facebook isn't my favorite, so it gets a little less love from me.
Well, Instagram is the new thing anyway, so everybody's on that. So.
Yeah, exactly. And then on YouTube, I do, so if you're like, okay, so Matt was hypnotized, that's cool, but this isn't going to work on me. I do viewer hypnosis sessions on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I saw one that I followed is when you want to try a hypnotic experience from home, right?
Yes.
So you can just get into it. I was with the watch that you
Yes.
and I really got into it. Like you
Good.
focus on the watch and then
Yeah.
you're like everything slows down. And I was like, yeah, everything slows down.
Yeah, I fought that trope for a while because I'm like, oh, swimming watches, how cliche, but they're really effective,
technique,
right? And if you can bring people with something they understand and then layer it with something they don't, it's a beautiful way to kind of grow them like a snowball. So that, you can also see lots of my street hypnosis on YouTube, and you can see my older videos where I give like little chatter natter things. I don't know what you call it. Yeah. And then Patreon is a place that, for people who don't know what Patreon is, it's like a creative crowdsource kind of funding thing.
Okay.
So I get to experiment with some really cool induction techniques. So the watch, I have one where eating an apple brings you into hypnosis.
Okay.
Who would have known, right? I have like a hair brushing one. That one's my favorite one. It's very trancy. And just there's some ASMR stuff. So if you like kind of that just auditory sensations, there's some of that. So you can subscribe to my Patreon level.
So Patreon is what, patreon.com? It's a website? Or what is it?
Yeah, it's
I'm not familiar with it.
a lot of people aren't, which is too bad. Patreon.com, and then you can search hypnosis or you can search Grounded Hypnosis.
Okay.
And then it'll show you like there's different tiers of subscription that you can join.
Yeah.
And it just allows people who are being creative to get some money so that they can continue to be creative. Like, I don't have a side hustle. Like, hypnosis is my jam. It's what I do. It's what I am. It is, I'm all about this. So, it's nice to pay my bills.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So people can, like, give you donations or, like, little funds to help you.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you want to email me with any questions, it's Jennifer@groundedhypnosis.com.
Okay.
And in turn, if you want to PayPal me, Jennifer@groundedhypnosis.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, so basically if you want to find more of me, Grounded Hypnosis.
Okay. And you were saying too that for people around the world that are not in Canada or because they cannot come to Ottawa, which is where we are right now, you do Skype consultations? Or?
I do. So I do online stuff. I actually use Zoom, but
Zoom.
Zoom. So I do online sessions, and I do sessions with people all over the world. I do it with people in the States. I do it with people in the Netherlands, in Italy, in Australia, all over the world, and